Hello everyone, today let's take a look at the humans to create a monster. The fantasy movie Detective Pikachu that can easily destroy the world. How do you feel when you suddenly have a cute Pikachu in your house? I don't know when, a group of people in the ravine don't know what they're doing here. What's in this container? We don't know what kind of creature it is, but the evolution of the hair all over the body is quite thorough. There's a guy named Harry who is driving home for some food. But at this moment, the creature's eyeballs stared, and the small universe exploded instantly. Continue to make big moves in the lab, and then slip away without knowing what to do. Seeing this cargo chasing the car in a somersault cloud, he saw the other party's four wheels, provocative. A big move to shoot him down. Under the bridge is life or death, we don't dare to ask. On the other side, there are two little brothers wandering around here. I happened to catch a Pokemon called Caracalla, and this little brother named Jack said that this thing is amazing. In the future, you will save the classification of bones and everything, and you can take it back, but Tim is unwilling. Saying that I don't even have a daughter-in-law to bother with this thing, Jack doesn't want to. If you want your daughter-in-law to do a ball, don't you say that the water system is not suitable for you? Kara belongs to the fire system and is assigned to match your temper, and then gives him a pokeball. Seeing that there is no brain, the melon seeds will go over and collect them as soon as they go up. This Kara always holds the bones of dead relatives. When she saw someone, Kara looked back, scaring Tim. Jack said you just throw it and it's over, watch me do a ball. Tim waved the ball out. Sure enough, he subdued Kara, but it didn't show off. The director was reluctant to arrange for Carla to go out to steal the show, only to see this thing chasing Tim all the way. Then he picked up the guy and flew him away, and then let them go. I'm about to leave here, and I don't know anyone in this place. Tim said okay, go out and do a good job, I'll be promoted soon. Jack smiled, what kind of job can you get promoted as an insurance appraiser? While he was chattering, Tim's phone rang. After connecting, there was news that he had more car accidents and received boxed lunches, but he was anxious, without any waves. Then I took the high-speed train and rushed back, but I saw a Pokemon hanging around in the car. This made him wonder, didn't this thing have to be in the Pokeballs? At this time, the screen prompts everyone to go to the city of Lem for a walk. It turns out that after the founding of the future world, it was allowed to become a spirit, and there was a creature called Pokemon. It has gradually integrated into humans, and in the past, people loved to catch it when they had nothing to do. Use their power to create benefits, and it's okay for the entire arena to organize a PK or something. But there's an old guy named Howard who changes all that, and that's the founder and director of Cliff Industries. He contracted a rare and strange disease and could not walk, so he resigned from his position. While traveling around the world to find an antidote, he discovered that Pokemon can get along with humans. So it changed his life, and when he came back, this old man built the city of Lime. And humans and Pokemon here can coexist peacefully, and domesticated Pokemon can deliver a courier if they have nothing to do. Organize traffic and act as firefighters. The key is to use our national treasure to sell cute, and then Tim came to the police station of his boss. When I met Mr. Yoshida, you said that whoever gets more boxes of lunches will feel better. Yoshida comforted him for a while, saying that this must be a case of attempted murder of you and his Pokemon. In the future, you will have to pay all the costs on your own, but you have to learn more from you, and we can arrange it here. But Tim refuses and asks for the keys back to his father's apartment. I was about to go back to see what was going on, but Yoshida gave him the address and key. When Tim arrives at the place where his father used to live, he realizes that there is always someone following him. But at a glance, this yellow duck doesn't look like it, and he didn't care about the 3721 entering the floor. When he opened his locker, he saw a pile of letters, and the duck followed. There was a little old girl behind me who said, "This is my Pokemon called Duck. I've been waiting for someone to open the storage box, and Tim looks like a person." When I asked him what kind of character he was, the old girl said my name was Lucy. I'm an intern reporter at CNN, and I'm here to document everything you know about Harry. Lucy looked at him a little blindfolded and said that you had a car accident that was too bizarre. I wanted to find out what I had, but Tim said I didn't know him well and hadn't been in touch for more than a decade. I didn't want to talk nonsense with her and was about to get up and leave, but when I entered the house, I found a bottle. When he opened it, a cloud of purple smoke suddenly appeared, but he choked it, and when he opened the window, the smoke surged into the hands and tails who were strolling around. As a result, they seemed to be a little blackened after this toss. Seeing the letter made him fall into a memory. It turned out that Tim was busy with the work of the police station when he was a child. I ignored him all the time, and his mother fell ill and passed away. He lived with his grandparents when he was a child, but at this time, he was interrupted by movement in the house. I stepped forward and found a cute-looking Pikachu hanging around. Tim asks how it got in, and Pikachu thinks humans can't understand what he's saying. Use the action to tell him to put the guy in his hand down, or I will electrocute you. I didn't expect Tim to understand him, and I was wondering what was going on. The hand-tailed monkey suddenly rushed in and gestured at Tim, and Pikachu hurriedly used a fruit to find out. This girl is hungry, but I never thought of solving one. The old group of the other party's family came, and they were so frightened that they ran out quickly. There was a bump and a bump, but I managed to escape along the garbage pipe. Tim, who doesn't believe in evil, asks everyone if they can understand what Pikachu is saying, but it seems that they can't understand the stance. Tim guesses that he just inhaled the purple smoke, and Pikachu asks if he's Harry's son. Pikachu said that after the car accident, he lost his memory. Just remember the address on the hat and Harry's name, so came to the apartment and met you. But I can feel like a detective, so find Harry and the lost memory. Don't listen to their calves, they didn't even find the body, and they said I was dead. Isn't I alive and well now? Tim complains that his father didn't care about him when he was a child. I don't have much affection for him, decided to look for Yoshida tomorrow to see if he could find a clue. The next morning, Pikachu made a mess of the house. Putting Tim angry and almost pregnant, Pikachu said I saw our logo on this bottle. Associated with the sudden blackening of the hand-tailed monkey last night, Tim wondered when he happened to see a newspaper and remembered the Lucy he had met earlier. He's a reporter and he's reporting on Harry, maybe there's some clue, so he'll do it when he has a direction. The two went to CNN to meet Lucy, who pulled out the bottle. Lucy panicked and took him to her office, where Pikachu saw Duck. It is said that this thing will explode if it collapses, and Lucy finds several of the same bottles. Tim asks where you're from, and Lucy says that Harry is often seen at this dock. I secretly went there and found these bottles, and after I got the clues. Tim took Pikachu to take a look at the situation, and was strolling around when he saw a magic wall puppet here. The other party planned to flee after seeing Pikachu. Pikachu thought at this time Harry's informant might be a Pokémon, and the two of them were going to catch it and ask for clarification. This magic wall puppet uses its brain to create some barriers to perform on its own. After this inquiry, it was revealed that the source of R was a roundhouse. And this roundhouse is a Pokémon arena, to put it bluntly, but they don't know that an old girl with sunglasses seems to have fallen on them. While Tim was observing, an old brother was here with Pikachu. Pikachu might get a clue when he got to know me, and he asked Tim what kind of character he was. Why is Harry's Pikachu here? It turns out that this Pokémon has been bullied by Pikachu, and this time the purpose is to take revenge. Tim said he was just asking why Harry was here before, and the old man looked at the arena and said, "As long as you win Charizard, I'll tell you, Pikachu doesn't think this thing can beat him before. Now the designation is the same, but Charizard can appear as soon as it appears." Pikachu instantly began to froze, because he forgot to release 100,000 volts. Yes, farts are all held out, but it's still useless, and everyone present is a whole thing. Can the Charizard get used to it, and want to magnify the trick to kill Pikachu, and at this critical moment? Tim rushed out and stepped on the dragon's tail, but Charizard screamed, but Pikachu took the opportunity to jump on the opponent's head and disrupt the opponent. But the owner of the fire-breathing dragon was unwilling, and was just about to say that he was swept aside by the dragon's tail. As a result, the same smoke emitted from the previous bottle on his body, blackening all the Pokémon present. Tim now understood that Charizard had inhaled the smoke before the game. Seeing the chaos here, Pikachu saw the Carp King in front of him. Remembering that this thing would turn into a Tyrannosaurus if provoked, he used him aside. Seeing that Charizard was coming, King Carp unexpectedly began to evolve. Charizard was so frightened that he didn't dare to say anything when he saw the other party's physique, and the Tyrannosaurus squirted everyone out of the door with a mouthful of saliva. But Tim was also arrested by the police, but fortunately, the director was Yoshida, and it was nothing serious. Tim said that "I didn't die, Pikachu was alive," but Yoshida didn't believe it. "I told the previous thing again, and this mouth is like an engine." Yoshida couldn't stand it anymore, so he played TV and let him watch the surveillance at the time. A disheartened Tim complains to Pikachu on the street when a car walks by. It was the girl who came down from the arena before, and Tim came to the company with her. Meet a Pokemon of Fire EV, and Howard Ward, the founder of Clifford Industries. Seeing the other party say hello, Tim asks if he knows his dad. Howard said that Harry's case had something to do with me, and that the contents of the bottle were in danger of everything I had built. "He's not dead, it's Harry I hired to find the source of this thing. But I didn't expect that the culprit was my son Roger, who beat me into this wheelchair." The company was basically taken over by Roger, who controlled a lot of people. Only Harry was the one I trusted the most, and then showed him a holographic image technology. The scene was restored, and sure enough, Harry struggled to escape. But then there was a Pokemon called Mewtwo on top of his head, and Howard said it was a man-made monster. Reconstructed in the lab with fantasy fossil DNA, this thing has the ability to destroy the world. Pikachu seems to have had his memory erased by Mewtwo and took Harry with him. Howard said that your mission is to find Mewtwo and find your father, and once you have a clue, ask Lucy. Lucy took out a photo and said it was a Pokemon genetic research facility where there were some accidents last week. "That is, the night your father disappeared, why don't we form a CP to find out what the situation is?" "Just do it," and the two of them drove to the laboratory. After entering, I looked at the huge place and looked weird, and there were many Pokemon around it. There were turtles basking in the sun outside, but they didn't notice it overhead. A surveillance camera watched surreptitiously and teleported to Roger. The two of them tinkered here for a long time, called up the holographic image to restore the scene, and found that Mewtwo was really born here. R was made using Mewtwo, ready to experiment on Pokemon, when this old girl was about to bring one. "What is the name of the nerve connector thing?" The laboratory suddenly goes on an alarm. Mewtwo takes the opportunity to escape, causing the image to suddenly disappear. Pikachu moves time forward and learns that Mewtwo fled 20 years ago. So they hired Harry to check it out, and you said you made the movie even if you cracked it. At this point, Roger uses the remote to open the hatch of the lab, causing the Pokemon to suddenly come out. Can scare a few people so much that they run out. Can that person have no temper on the other side and use a big move while chasing? Seeing that there was no way, Pikachu began to get angry at Diduck, and successfully caused his brain to explode. Sent the other party back to his hometown to pick up the child, and when he was just about to do nothing, the sky suddenly fell apart. Only then did I find myself on the body of the two-tie turtle, and at this time a stone landed. It happened to hit Pikachu, and several people also fell into the water, and after climbing ashore, they saw that Pikachu was going to get a box lunch. A wonderful frog seed sneaks in, and Tim begs them to heal Pikachu. As if sensing what he meant, the wonderful frog seed took them to a stone platform, and it was Mewtwo who came out to be cured. After some trouble, Pikachu really returned to normal. Mewtwo opened his mouth and said, "I've always been grateful to Pikachu." Tim asks him about his whereabouts, and Mewtwo brings them into his consciousness. It was discovered that it was Pikachu who destroyed the power supply when Mewtwo escaped, and was about to look down at Mutuo when he was suddenly controlled. It was Roger who came out, and he forcibly took Mutuo into an armored car. But Pikachu begins to blame himself, believing that it was his own letting of Mutuo cause Harry to be taken away. Fearing that he would betray Tim again, he decides to part with him, and a sad Pikachu happens to be at the scene of the car accident. Discovers a Koga Ninja Frog's shuriken and realizes that Harry's car accident was caused by Roger's Koga Ninja Frog. Mutuo was supposed to be protecting them, the hologram that Howard had shown them before. It should be a hidden mystery, and Pikachu, who learned the clue, hurriedly looked for Tim. Tim came to Howard's office and saw him wearing the neural connector from the previous lab. And Mutuo on the side also brought it and forcibly poured our smoke into it. Then Howard suddenly transferred to Mutuo, and it turned out that this thing had been asking Tim to help him find Mutuo. The purpose is to transfer consciousness to the past so that not only can the disease be cured, also has a strong body, and Tim also understands that the car accident was planned by this Howard Ward. Because Harry found out about his plot, and the rest of the people outside were still having a good time. Lucy tried to ask the mayor for help, but saw Roger on the sidelines and only interrupted her thoughts. Due to Howard's ability to discover Mutuo, he was able to transfer human consciousness to Pokemon. The premise is that these people need to be unconscious, and today's march is just that. Howard rushed out of the window and released the R contained in the balloon, causing all human consciousness to shift to the Pokemon. Pikachu, including Lucy, took a look at the mess, ready to go and stop it, although remembering how to discharge can recover from instability and be difficult to defeat the opponent for a while, and Tim here hears the movement in the cabinet and opens it to find that it is Roger. And Roger, who came out of his back, was transformed by a variety of beasts, and this kind of Pokemon can transform into various forms. But no matter what happened, his eyes were too, and this thing turned into a strange punch that almost knocked him to the bottom of the building. Then it turned into Caracalla and began a bang. You say that the protagonist hangs up, can the director be willing? Roger made a big move to beat the other party back to his hometown to take the child, and successfully rescued Tim, but he didn't expect the white beast to turn into a warrior eagle and wander over. Then, he turned into Charizard and began to attack, but accidentally bit through the container containing R. Fortunately, Tim was in a hurry and squirted R into his mouth, making him turn back into his prototype and unable to fight again. And Pikachu outside was also caught by Howard, and Pikachu didn't panic. My job is to distract you, Howard glanced. Discovering that Tim had taken the neural connectors from the drive awakened the real Mutuo. Afterwards, Mutuo restored all the consciousness in the Pokemon, and Howard was arrested. Lucy was also promoted by Roger to become an official reporter for CNN because of her merit in this incident. I'm looking for my father, but I haven't found any moths for half a day. Mutuo started to steal the show and said, your dad has been with you all the time. It turned out that Mutuo had sealed Harry's consciousness in the depths of Pikachu's heart. However, it causes Pikachu's memories to disappear, and Harry is taken away by Mutuo for preservation. When he returned, Tim caught a glimpse of Deadpool, not his father, Harry. The family has finally returned to its original state and started a new life. The movie is over here, and after watching it, let's have a brief chat with you. How many people remember Pikachu? I remember it was also called Pokemon, whatever. This time, the live-action version also made a bold attempt. The two-dimensional plane image is presented in a three-dimensional way, plus the voice of the little uncle. And the cute Pikachu has a new feeling, and the film is 90 minutes long. A variety of common Pokemon are presented, which can be regarded as more attentive. It's just that the movie routine hasn't changed, and it's often the protagonist who saves the planet, and we don't know where you are. How many superheroes are there? We won't talk about it. If you like Pikachu, you can check it out, if one day you get Pikachu. What are you going to ask him to do? Okay, that's all for today's movie, and we'll see you next time.